The Stepmother by Ros Carne. Read by Gabrielle Glaister.
Prologue. It was a good choice, the spot where the soft estuarine deposits had been dredged out of the riverbed. The sky glittered with stars, and the sliver of moon gave off just enough light for them to see each other's shapes. Both women were fit. Both had occupations that called on their strength, and at first their spades sliced easily through the fresh mud and clay. But progress slowed as the hole deepened, and the ground became more compacted. Every few minutes they stopped and leant on their spades, sipping water from a shared bottle. When the hole was deep enough, they returned to the car for the body, tried and failed to heave it over the gate. The older woman felt for the bolt and metal clasp and managed to swing it open. A loud squeak rang through the night. Back at the grave, they unwrapped the blanket. "Wait," she said. "Let me hold his head. I haven't said goodbye. Not properly." He was already stiffening. She leant forward and kissed the point of his forehead between his closed eyes. In the near dark, his face looked perfect, as if he were only sleeping. Then she pulled off her jacket and t-shirt, dug her teeth into the thinly woven cotton, ripped off a sleeve and placed it by his head. Together, they lowered him into the makeshift grave. Part 1. Chapter 1. 2 months earlier. This was the place, where the path widened and sloped towards gates on each side, where her dog, Timber, habitually turned off into the field, where a month ago she had felt the cool liquid trickling down her legs, stuck her hands down her leggings and pulled out a blood-wet finger. Kate took a deep breath and sprinted on. She would leave those demons behind. Her fault, unmotherly, too thin, too selfish. They battered her ears in a volley of irrational guilt. She was running along the disused railway path, the pure air sweet in her lungs. On each side, creamy blossom frothed over branches flecked with pale green leaves. Ahead, she could see the outline of the ruined abbey. For days, she had been unable to move or work. She could only lie on the sofa, staring at daytime TV, a shadow on her heart. Gradually, she'd returned to the world. To the studio, the workshops, talking to friends, to students. To the counsellor at the hospital, who told her she must be gentle with herself. It happened to many women. It was just bad luck. Talking to Michael was more difficult. "We'll consult the experts, see what they say." "Whatever you want, I'll go along with it." He looked down at her with his long, patient gaze. She sensed his commitment, but in the weeks that followed, his support faltered. He'd been unwilling to join her in counselling. "I'm not talking to a stranger about my feelings." "You don't talk to anyone about your feelings." The space between them felt very wide. They had breakfasted to the sound of the morning news, Kate barely hearing as one horror piled on top of another. In the evening, Michael slumped in front of the TV, too tired for conversation. He was involved in a big case, a young woman brain damaged during surgery. It was intense, detailed work. And if he didn't need to go to court or chambers, he would bury himself in his study for hours. At other times, when conferences and meetings ran on later than expected, he would stay over in the Bristol flat. It was a relief to Kate to have the house to herself. A breeze swelled up and she was running into the wind. Some impulse propelled her to go faster, headlong into each angry gust. She could hear her father's voice. "When the going gets tough, the tough get going." Life came at you and you fought it. Playground spats. Carrot Top. Ginga Minga. Their taunts had fired her, and she had braved her enemies with hard, cold looks and words as sharp as theirs, until they scattered. The 3 miscarriages were the only truly bad things that had happened to her. And were they that bad? She was 36 and otherwise blessed. Work she loved, money to pursue it, a beautiful house. There were too many children in the world. She would be doing her bit for the planet. And yet. The abbey ahead was growing larger. She flicked back her head to check on Timber. He was close behind her, snuffling about in the margins of the path. She took a step towards him, decided to take the shortcut back to the house, grabbed his collar, and pulled him down the slope and through the gate. They set off along the edge of the Rhine, the narrow drainage ditch that served as a boundary with the next field. In the distance, under willows misty with new growth, a herd of brown cows stood chewing grass. They reminded her of the little plastic models she had played with as a child. Though these would not be cows but bullocks, this being the season when farmers put them out to grass to fatten for meat. You had to watch out for bullocks. They weren't aggressive, but they were curious, frisky, playful, could do damage. Still, it was a big field and she had plenty of time. Timbo was trotting in their direction. When she called his name, he carried on, but she repeated the call, and eventually he looped back towards her, like a child, half avoiding, half obeying instruction. She glanced towards the willows. The dog had unsettled the bigger beasts, piqued their curiosity. 4 legs, like them? A fellow creature. Smaller, but similar colouring. Could they see colours? Kate had no idea. They were heading towards her dog now. A leader setting the pace, the herd trundling behind him. Most were walking, but a couple at the side jumped on the spot, kicking out their back legs as if eager to cut loose. One darted off in pursuit of a straggler, scrambling onto its enormous square back, clasping it with gawky front legs. A ton of beef. An adolescent mating game. Kids fooling about. Last year, a local woman had been trampled to death by cattle. She had been holding 3 dogs on leads. Standard advice when confronted with livestock was to let your dog off. The woman had failed to heed the advice, which was curious, because it turned out she was a dog breeder. She was found by the farmer later that afternoon. The cattle were clustered at the gate, the dogs circling her body, their leads trailing behind them. Timber wheeled back to Kate and barked. She swivelled round. The animals were close, too close. The one at the front was staring at her. From where she had stopped a few metres away, she could make out the dark rims of its soulful eyes. If it broke into a run, it would reach her in seconds. A run could become a stampede. She powered on, conscious of her quick breath, the thump of her heart, the sensation of bumpy ground through the soles of her running shoes. The track across the field, though marked as an official footpath, was little more than a strip of flattened grass that had been crushed by dog walkers. Here and there it disappeared into patches of mud and clumps of sedge. You could easily twist an ankle. Kate skirted puddles and tussocks. Her legs, strong only seconds ago, felt weak and shaky. Then came a rumble behind her, moving towards her, rising from the earth through her body like a drum roll. She flicked back her head. Tons of hefting bone and muscle.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?